So, a lot of you know me in recovery, and some of you know me from discussing occult and esoteric traditions. Today I'm going to kind of blend the two. I want to talk about the dark night of the soul in step 1. So, you see, when this broken person, right, when we first enter the recovery program, the whole thing seems difficult to swallow. While we get used to participating with the kind of people that genuinely want to help us stay sober and focused on being better, we slowly start to take a look at the steps. The first step has layers for me, because at first it was very hard to admit I was powerless. I thought I was completely responsible for all of my successes, and that somebody else's actions were to blame for all of my failures. I was convinced that even my drinking and drug use was the same reaction to this insane world. What I couldn't admit, that I was responsible for creating my world, that somehow all the madness and all the success was due to my own expression of life, and in my current state, I was powerless to change it. I would just keep creating an unmanageable life with no hope of ever escaping the cycles of my material existence without first correcting this deeper spiritual malady I had been afflicted by. It is suggested that we must hit a bottom, that when we realize the seriousness of our malady, we cling to the program like a drowning man seizes a life raft. This is important in every spiritual school of thought. It is important as being as prone to a conviction and willing to listen with an open mind like only the dying can be. That's from 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Now, when I think of that, I think of the dark night of the soul. And in fact, John of the Cross said, "Into this dark night, souls begin to enter when God draws them forth from the state of beginner, which is the state of those that meditate on the spiritual road, and begin to set them in the state of progressives, which is that of those who are already contemplative, to the end that, after passing through it, they may arrive at the state of the perfect, which is that of the divine union of the soul with God. The utter failure, even to the brink of death, is the beginning of rising from the ashes of our old life. It is said that the dark night of the soul is the death that leads to the rebirth that is spiritual awakening. In the doctor's opinion, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says that a vital spiritual experience would be required for the worst alcoholic to have a hope of becoming sober, for real lasting change to occur. The first step was an amazing realization that I was on death's door, and it was my own doing. It was the beginning of a process of transformation that created a life beyond my wildest dreams. It can and will work like this for anyone who chooses to apply the spiritual principles laid out in that simple program. Now that we have admitted defeat and begun the process of this leveling of pride, there was nothing left to do but pick up this kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. When I think about that, it's not so difficult to draw the correlation between this and the initiation into any school of spiritual awakening and progress. For me, I know that the old structures had to be torn down to create a foundation to build the temple upon. Join me next time. We're going to discuss the spiritual meaning and practical application of Step 2. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe.